Welcome to Budget 101. Stay tuned to learn more about how the City of Philadelphia's annual budget works, including the operating budget and capital budget, starting with a brief budget overview video explaining the budget structure and process.
Hey Philly, just like you, the City of Philadelphia needs money to keep things running. Let's talk about how our annual city budget works. The budget is the annual plan with a price tag for the City of Philadelphia's programs and services. Decisions around how the city spends resources can impact the quality of life of businesses, residents, and visitors. The city divides its budget into two main types, operating and capital. The operating budget funds day-to-day services and programs, like trash collection and building inspections. The capital budget funds long-term major infrastructure investments like recreation centers and fire engines. The Philadelphia Home Rule Charter requires the city to produce a balanced budget. This means our revenues and reserves must fully cover our spending. The budget is organized around the city's programs and services. Organizing the budget this way provides a clear picture of how much money is being spent on each program, what that service is, and how well the program is performing. For example, the Streets Department measures on-time trash collection, which helps the city to see how well that service is working and the value of our investment in trash collection. Let's start with talking about our operating budget. Each year, the Budget Office works with city government department leaders to prepare an operating budget. In addition to an annual budget, the Budget Office also creates a 5-year strategic and financial plan, which helps the city plan ahead by projecting revenues and spending over a longer period of time. Before we can decide how we want to spend our money, we must first figure out what our projected revenues will be. The largest portion of our revenues come from local taxes, like the wage tax. Other funding comes from fines and fees, aid from state and federal governments, and revenue from other city funds. When we are putting together the operating budget, we first look at what services and programs are currently provided and how much they will cost next year. We also look at the costs the city is required to pay for each year. We call these fixed or inflexible costs. Over 50% of the general fund is made up of fixed and inflexible costs. This means that less than half of the city's general fund budget is unrestricted and up for discussion each year. After establishing our fixed and inflexible costs, we look at what new or expanded services and programs the city can offer. Since we need to produce a balanced budget, not every new project can be funded. When making decisions about what will be funded and what won't, city leaders utilize feedback from people like you to understand community needs. They also must consider legal and constitutional requirements and the impact on racial disparities and other factors. Now let's discuss the capital budget. The capital budget allows the City of Philadelphia to make long-term investments in physical things, like buildings, roads, and infrastructure, and in major information technology systems that help run the city. Each year, an annual capital budget is produced, as well as a 6-year capital program, since many projects take years to complete. The capital budget is funded by many different sources. Most of the money has requirements and must be spent in specific ways. However, the city makes decisions on a portion of that money each year. The operating and capital budget follow a similar development process. In the fall, city departments submit operating and capital budget requests to the Budget Office and City Planning Commission. Throughout the winter, the Budget Office reviews the budget requests and projected revenues. For capital budget requests, the City Planning Commission works in coordination with the Budget Office to review budget proposals. Both agencies gather public input from community stakeholders to understand the requests and community needs. In early spring, the mayor submits recommended operating and capital budgets to the City Council. During the spring, City Council holds hearings to learn more from departments and gather community feedback on both the operating and capital budget. City Council must adopt the operating and capital budget before July 1st. During the budget process, you can help influence how the city decides to spend its resources. A few examples of how you can take part are through surveys, focus groups, town halls, and public hearings. The budget represents the City of Philadelphia's commitment to tackling its biggest challenges, including providing a safe and just city, health equity for all, and quality education for all Philadelphians.
You're famous.
Amid all the charts and numbers of the budget is a core goal to increase equity and opportunity so that you can reach your full potential, regardless of what corner of the city you live in. To learn more about the City of Philadelphia's operating and capital budget, please visit phila.gov/finance.
I just need to get some reviews of the hopper.
As highlighted in the budget overview video, under the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, the budget must be balanced. This means that the total amount appropriated in the budget must not exceed the projected revenues to be raised by taxes and other measures. Essentially, revenues plus reserves equals expenditures. While Council is free to amend the budget, the Mayor's estimate of the value of anticipated revenues is binding, and the budget cannot exceed it. If actual revenues fall short and a deficit occurs, the shortfall must be made up in the next fiscal year. The budget is not effective, and no funds may be spent under it until it is balanced. The Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority, PICA, was created on June 5, 1991, by the PICA Act for Cities of the First Class, the PICA Act. PICA was created by the state to prevent the city from going into bankruptcy. The PICA Act provides that, upon request by the city to PICA for financial assistance, and for so long as any bonds issued by PICA remain outstanding, PICA shall have certain financial and oversight functions. The PICA Act is set to sunset in 2023. The PICA Act requires the city to annually develop a balanced 5-year financial plan and to prepare and submit quarterly reports to PICA so that they may determine whether the city is in compliance with the then current 5-year plan. The city is required to submit a revised 5-year plan when entering into new collective bargaining agreements. PICA has a first dollar claim on the resident portion of the wage tax to pay debt service on the bonds. PICA then returns any remaining tax collected, just shy of $500 million in recent years, to the city after paying debt service and administrative costs. Revenue from the portion of the wage tax the PICA returns to the city is shown within revenue from other governments as PICA City Account. The city is not allowed to reduce the rate of the PICA portion of the wage tax as long as PICA bonds are outstanding. Here are a few of the administration's key players when it involves the city's taxes. The Office of the Director of Finance is charged with overseeing the city's financial, accounting, and budgetary functions, including establishing fiscal policy guidelines, overseeing the city's budget and financial management programs, and recording and accounting all city financial activities. Finance administers the city's payroll activities and risk management functions, administers relief programs, issues financial reports, and oversees expenditures and reports on all grants. Finance strives to ensure that the city maintains long-term fiscal stability while meeting its policy goals. The Budget Office is part of the Office of the Director of Finance. The Department of Revenue collects tax and non-tax revenue due to the city and tax revenue due to the School District of Philadelphia promptly and efficiently by increasing on-time payments and decreasing delinquency, while providing excellent service to customers that is fair and efficient. Another key player is the Office of Property Assessment, OPA. OPA is responsible for determining the value of all real property in Philadelphia and is dedicated to doing so in a fair, accurate, and understandable way. OPA's primary goal through ongoing assessments is to improve the accuracy and uniformity of all property values and to instill confidence in Philadelphia taxpayers regarding the fairness of the property tax system, as well as the competency and professionalism of Philadelphia's assessment office. The 1951 Home Rule Charter established City Council to serve as the legislative arm of Philadelphia municipal government. City Council consists of 17 members. 10 council members are elected by district and 7 are elected by the city at large. Each member is elected for a term of 4 years with no limitations to the number of terms that they may serve. City Council is a legislative body with the power to make law by enacting ordinances. City Council is responsible for reviewing and adopting the mayor's proposed annual budget and capital budgets in the 6-year capital program. Through its review process, City Council may amend proposed budgets, either during the budget process itself or later by separate legislation. City Council authorizes the issuance of bonds that the city or some of its related agencies may sell. City Council hearings and meetings are pre-advertised and open to the public in accordance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. City Council is also responsible for making or confirming certain board, commission, or special services district appointments. Separation of School District of Philadelphia in the city. The school district was established pursuant to the First Class City Home Rule Education Act by the Educational Supplement to the City Charter as a separate and independent home rule school district to provide free public education to the city's residents. Under the city charter, the school district is governed by the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia, which is appointed by the mayor. The school district has no independent power to authorize school taxes. Certain financial information regarding the school district is included in the city's annual comprehensive financial report. Under the city charter, the Board of Education is required to levy taxes annually within the limits and upon the subjects authorized by the General Assembly or City Council in amounts sufficient to provide for operating expenses, debt service charges, and for the costs of any other services incidental to the operation of public schools. Additionally, enacted in 1963, the Little Sterling Act gave City Council the authority to allow the school district to tax most things that the city can tax, except the wages or net income of non-residents. An unelected school board cannot have taxing power, so the City Council must authorize taxes that support the school district. The Little Sterling Act is the source of the school income tax and the use and occupancy tax. The school district is part of the Commonwealth system of public education. In a number of matters, including the incurrence of short-term and long-term debt, the school district is governed by the separate statutes of the Commonwealth. The school district is a separate political subdivision of the Commonwealth, and the city has no property interest in or claim on any revenues or property of the school district. Separation of School District of Philadelphia in the city. Property tax. Assessment and collection. Taxes are levied on the assessed value of all taxable residential and commercial real property located within the city's boundaries for the city and for the school district, each a real estate tax, as assessed by the Office of Property Assessment and collected by the Department of Revenue for both the city and the school district. Real estate taxes are authorized by Commonwealth law with a millage split between the city real estate tax and the school district real estate tax, changing over the years. The city real estate tax is equal to 45% of the total authorized millage, and the school district real estate tax is equal to 55% of the total authorized millage. By separate ordinances, City Council authorizes and levies the rate of the city real estate tax and authorizes the rate of the school district real estate tax. The Board of Education levies all school district taxes, including the school district real estate tax. The current tax rate is 0.6317% for the city portion and 0.7681% for the school district portion, for a total of 1.3998%. Under the PA Constitution, this rate must apply to all types of properties uniformly. Now let's switch gears and talk about the city's fund balance. One of the most important measures of the city's financial health is its fund balance. Having a healthy fund balance would give the city financial flexibility, make it better able to meet its cash flow needs, mitigate current and future financial risks, and ensure predictability of future services. A healthy fund balance can lower costs through lower interest rates on borrowed funds. The city's fund balance has historically been well below the almost 17% recommended by the Government Finance Officers Association, but had recently exceeded the city's internal target of 6 to 8% of general fund spending. In the fiscal year 2019, that was $438.7 million, or 9%. In fiscal year 20, the city ended with a fund balance of $290.7 million, a $148 million decrease from FY19. This was primarily due to the impact of COVID-19 in the fourth quarter. At 6% of spending, the fund balance barely met the internal goal, but the reduction from the prior year indicates the need for careful financial management amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The chart shown here illustrates the city's fund balance in comparison to internal goals and GFOA recommendations. In FY19, the city's fund balance was above the internal goal of 6 to 8% of general fund spending. In FY20, the fund balance just barely met the internal goal of 6%. And finally, in FY21, the preliminary fund balance is $78.7 million, well below the city's internal goal. Please note that the FY21 fund balance is preliminary and may shift in the annual report. Here are some highlights of the adopted fiscal year 22 operating budget for the general fund. Revenues are projected at $5.26 billion. Expenses are projected at $5.27 billion. And the projected FY22 general fund balance is $86.5 million. Philadelphia has high fixed or inflexible costs. In fact, more than 51% of the FY22 budget is fixed or inflexible spending. This means less than half of the budget is discretionary spending. Fixed cost. Fixed cost you cannot do anything to change in the short term. For example, debt payments. Inflexible costs have a limited ability to change and/or require significant operational spending changes elsewhere in the budget. And discretionary is all other forms of spending. The chart shown here illustrates the distribution of revenues and spending for the FY22 General Fund budget. On the revenue side, you can see that 74.3%, or $3.91 billion of total revenues, comes from taxes. On the spending side, you can see that the city's largest investment from the general fund is on its employees. To learn more about the city's budget, visit phila.gov/finance.